All right, we're diving into more articles this year. So there's one in The Athletic about quality control coach, pitching strategist, and many more titles that have been created in baseball, and the topic of title inflation. Dennis Lin, Zach Mizell, and Sam Blum all working on it. And there were some jokes about the show The Office in there, but things have really changed. And your classic 6-person coaching staff with the bench coach, hitting coach, pitching coach, first base, third base, bullpen, whatever, is gone. I don't think any team just has that, but then some of the titles that you get these days, strategist of performance and data integration with the Marlins, about the Red Sox with a game planning and run prevention coach. You've got your major league field coordinator, director of defense, base running, and strategy. There's someone with that role with the Guardians. So, Kip, what do you think of all these fancy schmancy titles?
I'm not saying they're not useful, and I'm not saying they don't have a purpose. It just seems like you're adding a middleman to some stuff that should already be done or can be checked off by the group as a whole, the team as a whole, or the staff as a whole. So, but I'm not saying that there isn't a usage for them by any means. I think it's just you're adding a job for someone. I don't know the full what they do, because I mean they weren't there when we played, so you can describe them to me some more. But it just seems like it's stuff that's, whether it's common sense or to the analytical side, the strategist stuff, that could be just front office stuff that maybe is useful, but otherwise it seems like stuff that should already be, if you have a high standard or a good locker room, should already be taken care of.
It's just more voices in the player's ear, right? It's more things, and it's more voices in the manager, more voices to talk about. I mean, God forbid, I always laugh about this. I don't know how it was when you were in the minor leagues, Kip, but we had a manager, a pitching coach, a hitting coach, and a trainer. And that was the whole staff. And we're like, man, how did we ever survive?
Don't you think it's better now? I mean
sure,
it's
better, but
now
they have in A-ball, they have 12 different coaches.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a mental coach, a first base, a hitting coach, assistant pitching coach, assistant, right? Which is great. It's more jobs in baseball, but also, I mean, how many? And didn't this all kind of started with the Giants, didn't it? With Gabe Kapler having a lot of coaches, and then other teams have taken off. And I think it's what Kip said. It's just a way to give more people jobs. Oh, I have a friend. He needs a job. Let's give him offensive coordinator job. Like, what does that even mean? You ask them, and they're like, well, I'm in meetings, and I give my advice here and there. And it's just another voice to have around. And, my favorite is this one, game planning and run prevention coach. Wasn't that the name of the game, is run prevent? I think that might be Veritech. But isn't run prevention coach, isn't that your whole job, is to prevent them from scoring runs if you're on defense?
It sounds better than just, assistant or something like that.
Yeah, it's fancy titles.
Yeah, it's fancy titles, but right, Kip, you're creating jobs. And I do remember last year a great article late in the season from Katie Wu for The Athletic, who also is the host of our Cardinal show, Cardinal Territory. And she touched on how the Cardinals had, kind of downsized some of their instructional coaching and some of the development around the players that they had, and that they were going to ramp that back up, which they've been doing. So I do want to make sure that if we're picking one side of the line or the other, we clarify it, everyone on your own. But for me, I would rather have 12 coaches in the minors and with a certain team than 4. I do think one person connecting with one player on one note can be helpful, as long as there's not information overload. But having more voices, like AJ said, generally is a good thing, right?
You're saying having more voices is generally a good thing?
Yeah, I know there's a line, but I'm saying, I just want to make sure we clarify that we shouldn't go back to having just 4 or 5, 6 coaches or whatever. And
well, the only problem is sometimes there's too many voices. I think Kip will agree with me. You can have too many voices in your ear.
But can't you, as a player, you just tell certain voices? No,
you can't, because guys have a hard time, because you want to please everybody. Tell them, Kip, that's one of the big things that players have to learn, is it's your career and you got to do what you do. And sometimes there's people that'll come up to you and they want to put their stamp on you, and you're like, nah, dog. And you, yeah. But it goes, whoop. You have to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, there's 3 different people that have taken credit for the change of me pointing the bat back. And I've had other players come up to me and tell me that, once they're on different teams, they're like, oh no, he tells everybody he created that for you. And I was like, I don't even know who this guy is. But no, like I said, there is usage for some of these. There is absolute clear defined usage, and it is helpful. But what AJ and I are trying to say is there could be too many cooks in the kitchen sometimes. And sometimes at some point you just have to be like, screw it, I'm going to do it myself or do it my way. If I'm going to go out, I'm going out my way.
The one thing I heard from teams is that they've significantly expanded their hitting coach plan because some players really connect with a certain person or style, and they're supposed to be okay with saying, like, he's my guy, right? I'm going to work with him more than with this person. I know that there's politics involved with that because certain hitting coaches want to be able to point to the star players and be like, I helped him. But do you think that's the right way to do things, AJ, is say have 3 or 4 different people in your hitting coach department?
Couple things here. One, Hawk Harrelson, when he was GM, he was way ahead of this because he wanted to have a power hitting coach and a hitting, like a base hit hitting coach back when he was GM, like, I don't know, in the 80s. Early 80s, the White Sox, he was told no. White Sox, when I was with the White Sox, we had a hitting coach, Greg Walker, and then he was the first guy. He had an assistant named Mike Gellinger, and he was awesome, and we all worked with him, and he's still in the organization. Greg Walker leaves. We get a new hitting coach, Jeff Manto. He doesn't want us to work with Gelly. And so Canerco and I were like, hey, we want to work with Gelly. We've been working with him I was there, this is my 8th year, 7 years now. And he's like, yes, but only you two. And we're like, well, what about the? Like, nope, they work with me. You guys get them. And you guys can go to him. We're like, great. Paul and I were like, sweet. Like, screw those other dudes. Like, this is the guy we want, right? So, and now he's still in the organization. He's been in the organization the whole time. But, yeah, egos get involved, man. Like, if you're the main hitting coach and the player goes, I don't want to hit with you. I want to hit with this other dude. Hitting coaches have egos. They get mad. I mean, it's a fact. It's human nature.
Yeah. There's been guys,
they do have egos 100%, but I don't mind them having 1 or 2 options because there are guys that speak your hitting language. There are guys who understand what you're trying to say or what you're trying to do better than maybe the other guy. There's also both of them throw BP. There might be a guy I never want to hit in his group or his cage because he just carves me up or gets me. The one guy makes me feel great going into a game, and one guy has me questioning everything because he broke one of my bats in a cage because he jammed me so bad every time. So there's different guys. Like, I understand having options. I don't mind that so much.
The thing that comes to mind for me too is then the personal hitting coaches on top of that. Yeah. Do you remember the Key Brian Hayes story? It was our first year of FT and we covered it late in the season. I'm looking back now. Hayes was secretly working in August at a private hitting facility in Pittsburgh with Joe Nunnally, former big leaguer and a Double-A hitting coach. And he was like, it's my career, right? And whatever he was getting elsewhere, he wasn't liking, and that was his guy. And he took off a little bit, and they fired Nunnally at the end of the season.
Wasn't that like Tom Brady having his own personal trainer and stuff a problem and little things on the outside?
No offense, Kip. Tom Brady to Brian Hayes is a little bit of a difference.
I understand. I'm just saying, but just after the person. Agreed.
I mean, look at Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds had his own everything. I mean, he had his. I mean, Barry Bonds would take BP and he'd go in and he'd sit in a recliner after BP and he'd fall asleep and he'd have one guy rubbing his head and one guy rubbing his feet while he's sleeping, and the rest of us, come in from BP sweating, and there's a dude rubbing his head and rubbing his feet, right? But then he had his own BP guy, like, which is fine. He's Barry Bonds. He can do whatever you want. You can't do that. I mean, you have to get it cleared, I think, with the organization first in order to do these kind of things. But organizations are much more open. Listen, as long as you hit and as long as you perform, we don't really care what you do.
No, they want performance, or they should want performance at the end of the day. Kratz, do you like spending an hour on grocery shopping?
Nope. Speed up the process, please.
Introducing Hungry Root to the FT fam.
Now we can all be bougie with our own personal shopper to handle the food shopping, including recs based on what you're looking to put in your body.
I stack my Hungry Root box with items like gluten-free, dairy-free blueberry waffles for breakfast, shrimp veggie bowls for lunch, and a little filet mignon with potatoes and broccolini for dinner.
You can also say just, hey, Hungry Root, I eat paleo, or I'm vegetarian, and they load up your cart with personalized recommendations.
And those recs keep evolving as they learn about what you're into. Also, no BS, as in no artificial sweeteners or preservatives in any of Hungry Root's food. You're going to love Hungry Root as much as FT does. Take advantage of this exclusive offer. For a limited time, get 40% off your first box, plus get a free item in every box for life. Go to hungryroot.com/FT and use code FT. That's hungryroot.com/FT, code FT to get 40% off your first box and a free item of your choice for life.
Paul, how many coaches do you guys have on the Guardians?
1 million. We have 1 million coaches.
Can you name them all and their positions?
There's literally no way I could name. No, I had a hard enough time in spring training making sure I knew the 4 pitching coaches, the special front office people that you have to know, and the training staff. Like, that was enough for me. I'm still trying to get the hang of it. We have, you know, Kip's been here. He understands they have somebody for everything to make sure that we have an extra trainer from any team that I've ever been on. We have an extra pitching coach for any team I've ever been on. I assume that we have an extra hitting coach from what normal organizations have. It just allows nothing to fall through the cracks here. And that's what I've seen in the couple months of spring training and a couple weeks is that, if there's an issue, we have somebody that's going to fix it. And we're going to make sure that you have somebody to support you. That's just the resources feel expanded here from other teams that I've been on. And I'm really embracing it. I think lots of these guys, I tell these young guys, you don't know how good you have it with some of this training staff. Like it's about as good as it gets. So I think we just have anything you could need. Cleveland has done an amazing job to make sure that you have that resource.
Okay, can you know who your pitching coach is, right?
I do know who my pitching coaches are. Yes,
it is Carl Willis.
So we have Carl Willis, Joe Torres, and Brad Goldberg, and the bullpen coach is Caleb Longshore.
And who are your bullpen catchers?
Ricky Paccioni and Eric Rodriguez.
Okay, now
and then from there, I cannot.
That's the one that's going to get you.
Don't put him in a bad spot.
No, it's in a bad spot. It's funny. Who's your major league field coordinator, director of defense strategy, and base running?
That's Kai Correa.
Yes, he nailed it. See, don't tell me. Yes, yes, yes. See, you do know everybody.
All time.
It is seriously the longest title.
Can you read that again?
Major league field coordinator.
Yeah, but Kai does everything. Like he does everything. Like so that he deserves a title that's that long because he's doing everything.
That's amazing. That is. I don't know. I would have to get name tags for like the first month.
I suggested that they gave me a sheet of everyone who's employed by the Guardians, and it was like, I was like, all right, these are like 150 people's names. There's no way I'm going to get that. So it was like the first week, I was like, I took it home. I was like, all right, training staff coaches. Okay. I think I got that. And it's like, I got one a week that I'm like, oh yeah. I'll learn their name. By the end of the year, I will know everybody, but it's going to take me a little bit of time.
Wow. Yeah, that's crazy. Okay, so I have a couple follow-ups here. First off, whether it's here or probably in prior stops, have you experienced or ever seen other players trying to play the politics game so that they're not hurting feelings when there's a lot of coaches? We were talking about it earlier. It feels like it could be even more so with hitting coaches. Like, oh, I really vibe with this coach, not the head guy, and I got to play the game so it doesn't feel like I am belittling him.
Yeah. That's a real thing. And I'm not going to name the teams that I've been on or the coaches that this is involved in, but it's hard when you don't connect with what we would call the head hitting coach or the head pitching coach, but you gel really well with somebody else. But then it's like the head pitching coach, it's his name who's on the line, right? If the pitching staff isn't doing well, he's the one who's going to get fired. So he wants to make sure his thumb is on this or thumb is on that and make sure that like, I have my eyes on everything that's happening. It's like, well, I don't know. Like, we're just not speaking the same language. It makes it very difficult. So that's a real thing. And it's difficult. And the most important thing is to make sure that nobody has egos.
Hey, everybody. Be sure to like and subscribe for more content.
We're back here every weekday, all year long, so do not miss an episode.
The videos are coming in all day. Here's another video you might enjoy.
Baseball the way it should be covered.